The gist of it was too often managers have a day job. And I say that in a derogatory sense. They have individual contributor responsibilities. They have project responsibilities. They've got to chase down this or chase down that. It's easy for us managers to get so caught up in the day-to-day work that we forget to pay attention to the system. And I'm going beyond what you said. I'm sorry if I'm reading too much into it. But it's a great topic. But yeah, so what's the role of manager in Agile? In many cases, I mean, Scrum is kind of silent on it. And in many cases, that's maybe by design. But really, what our organizations need is somebody to pay attention to the organization. How does things work? Where's the waste? Are the people motivated? Are they going to stay, or are they going to jump ship? And just talking to my people, I may learn how to make improvements in the process or the organization. So that's very important. And so to the extent that you can delegate work to your team to free you up. There's another great book called Slack by Tom DeMarco. Anybody? Yeah, great book, right? I definitely recommend that. Yeah, the ability to look around your organization and understand what's going on and make improvements is an important aspect of the manager's job in Agile. Can you use this?
Yes.
Anybody want to comment on how they might use this or what they're thinking? Yes, sir. Make sure the people.
I guess one of the things I learned was that as I was talking about the stuff, I started to think about how it might apply to other people. And so I was thinking I would probably sit down and do this with a few of the people I work with, because I think it'd be very good. And I think I know some of their motivations, but I bet that I would be very surprised by it.
What would the benefit of doing that be?
You know if you know what motivates them, you can cater to that. Help them do their job better by using their intrinsic motivation.
So during the exercise, did anybody ask, so what? Something is impacted negatively, but so what? Does it matter? Yes?
So we were talking and laid them out, and my partner asked me, he says, if you didn't have the first item on the list, if that changed, would you leave your job because of that? Absolutely. So, yeah, as these things come into play, you have to realize, and I think that's what the takeaway for me is, in understanding what the motivators are for my employees, is depending on the degree to which they are affected by what's going on, I could be putting them at risk by the choices that I make for them, for projects and things to do. If I don't understand what's motivating them, that's a very dangerous position to be.
More comments? Yes, ma'am.
I think at the very start of this exercise...
If you don't mind,
sorry.
could you look that way?
I think at the very start of this exercise, you brought up something that was critical to this being successful back in your real lives, and that is the trust between the two people doing this, right? Like, you can't imagine having this conversation with someone and telling them the truth or thinking that they might actually share their motivations with you if you're the manager.
Absolutely. Trust is very important. And so how do you build that trust? Well, this isn't the first thing you do. So how might you build the trust? How do you build trust?
Listen.
Listen.
Vulnerability.
Sorry?
Example. Be the example.
Be the example of demonstrate trust, vulnerability. We kind of already talked about this, yes, ma'am?
Show them your vulnerability.
Show them your vulnerability.
Show them how you've made mistakes and that.
Yes,
The world's in that.
Right. It's okay to have mistakes and learn from them.
I think the big part was just taking time to spend with people. I mean, this lady over here said it very well. Most of us have lots of other responsibilities, and think that the employees that we work with notice when we take time to visit with them.
Right. The comment was, employees notice and they appreciate it when you take time to visit with them and understand them as people and appreciate them and have empathy for them. And you end up with a very dedicated employee. You learn something about how to retain them and improve the workplace at the same time. Yes, ma'am?
I've heard that discussed as putting your attention out, and that's always helpful for me to remember. Keep your attention out of the other person, not yourself.
Okay. Let me go over here. Yes.
So I've actually been able to use this on my team a while back, mostly 9 months or so ago. And I had an interesting dynamic where I actually did have someone brand new directly reporting me, as well as like 13 other people that have been with me. And in all reality, it was a really good information, because as the guy that was, everybody else never looked at me. They were like figuring out the cards, and their trust was there to be really comfortable with this was what they were deciding to do. And the new guy with me would list a card and then look at me. List a card and then look at me, right? And so in some regards, it was a way for me to put attention out, right? And say, no, there's no wrong, I'm investing in you. But it also was a really good gauge for me as a manager to see where my trust was, where they were with trust with me too. If you're reading that body language, are they comfortable? Are they looking at you? Or are they, having the conversation?
Let me go to this gentleman, then we'll go to Claire.
Oh, I had a comment on that.
Okay, you may, Claire. Jump up.
So I think a lot of that is about the safe environment. And it's not just about failing at work, but it's almost like saying, what if I don't match what you think I should be? And is that okay? And am I putting myself at risk by saying, actually, I don't match the job description? So is that okay? And if not, is there somewhere I can fit? Like, I don't know if I would want to tell someone that necessarily.
And so you may take this to a trusted advisor or a friend and say, hey, can you help me work through something? Be my sounding board. There's the story, I think it's in Fred Brooks's Mythical Man Month, or maybe it's somewhere else, but there used to be a computer center and programmers, I guess it was at a school, could come up to the window and get help with a problem that they were having. And before that they could talk to a human, they had to explain their problem to a teddy bear. And usually after they would do that, they would realize their problem and they would go away. So sometimes just pretending that you just sounding it out loud, of course it helps to have a human. I don't want to trivialize that, but if you think that there's something that you're really struggling with, maybe take this and ask somebody to help you with it. Yes, way in the back.
Yeah, I was thinking about what it would feel like to have a manager do this to me, and one thing that felt important to me, maybe it's not for others, but just to feel like someone's not doing this for opportunistic purposes, like they genuinely want to know to improve their management style and be a better manager to you, rather than simply to know and motivate you and somehow be able to capitalize on top of that for the betterment of productivity. Like, I think it's such a vulnerable exercise that I would feel more comfortable knowing that a manager would be a better manager to me as a result, rather than like sweet, Laura likes mastery, we're gonna make her feel like she's mastering things all the time so that we make more money. I don't know.
So I'm kind of hard of hearing, and I heard most of that. If it was a general comment, if it was a question, can you repeat it? Or
It's not a question. I was just saying, trying to build trust, I think helps. It would be helpful to not to have people understand that it's also a tool for the manager to improve his or herself, rather than simply to know you better and be able to motivate you better for the purposes of enhanced productivity.
Thank you for repeating that for me. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for you, or maybe people in the room that have done this with their teams. I think it's a great tool. What do you do as their leader when, let's say there's 10 people on a team and they have 10 different answers, and some people want, power and status, but they don't get power and status because they're on a Scrum team. So I think it's great information gathering, similar to Myers-Briggs and stuff like that, but I guess what have people found the most beneficial? Is it focus on people's top 3 and try and build that in the team?
Okay, so I would love to field this question, and if I will try to repeat it or summarize it, I think there was 2 parts. One was what if everybody on the team doesn't have the same kind of view? And let me address that first real quick. That's okay. That's absolutely expected, and I wouldn't try to coerce it in any kind of way. Everybody should be different. You want a diversity is good, and you want a diverse team. And so really the exercise is just about understanding what you got. You know, you've been dealt some hand of cards, and how can you best play that hand of cards? Okay, I think the second part of the question was something along the lines of, well, we're a Scrum team and we don't get status. But I don't think that's completely true, because I think that there are, you've taken a team of generalizing specialists. They each have their own specialty, but they're trying to broaden, they're trying to get better and add more value and more breadth to their skill base. But each person still has some place on the team and are looked to for some given specialty, or for some particular, oh, you know this particular area of the code really well. And that can be very satisfying to a programmer or a tester who really knows how to break everything like Claire. Oh, come on, nobody reacted to my Claire joke. Another example. I did another exercise with the team. It was a constellations exercise that Lisa Atkins talks about in her coaching book. And I was doing this with the team, and one of the questions, and basically you get in a room and you move in or out to represent how strongly you agree or disagree with the question. And the question I asked was, I like to give presentations or something to that effect. And the product owner moved way away. The product owner, who we've been asking to give demos, hates giving demos. But there was some little quiet programmer who moved to the middle and said, I would love to do that. I would love to do the demos. And so maybe there's a way that we can, you know, take advantage of knowing that and change the way we do demos. And maybe it's not every time, maybe it's some of the time, but whatever. Knowing is half the battle. Yes.
I was just going to say, like, a little bit more towards your question is that you don't have to pretend there's an ideal world either. It's like you can sometimes find out that that you can't give them what they need in your organization or whatever. And that's actually usually a very positive thing. Because instead of like, what I've seen with people where that doesn't happen is they turn really negative and things start to really bother them. And it's really this thing that they can't get what they need where you're at. And you can't give it to them. Hey, that sometimes happens. They want to be an entrepreneur, and it's not, you know, you need them to work on something that's not entrepreneurial. Or they want to be CTO, and you already have a CTO.
The third part, yeah, the third part of your question was, you said, do you focus on the top three? Well, yeah, maybe, I don't know. I want to look to see where there's a problem, and I want to see if there's anything I can do about anything. I might not be able to do anything about, you know, something that moves down, but if I can protect the stuff that stayed the same, or if I can enhance the stuff that didn't go down, if I can have any impact at all anywhere in the top 5, then I think that's a success.
But I would argue that it's good to know even if you can't, because then you can say, hey, we don't have the fit.
And you can manage the risks.
Yes,
right.
You know, or whatever.
Okay, so I love this conversation, but what I think would be valuable, whether you believe it or not, I think it would be useful to switch roles with the time that's remaining and run the exercise, because I'd like each of you to have experience before you go back to your job, being the listener as well as being the person in the hot